Abby, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Okay, Abby, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I've got a hypothetical situation I want to drop you right in the middle of.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thanks so much for having me. My name
Yeah.
is Abby Thompson. I am founder and consultant at Bloom Marketing. We offer fractional CMO services, of course, strategic marketing projects, and marketing coaching.
Okay, so here's my scenario. Okay.
Okay.
Most of your work and interactions with clients, I imagine, are virtual, but this new client, it's brand new. They're brand new to you. The engagement's brand new. They're only 5 minutes from your house, and it's Monday morning. So you're actually going to show up there and start day one with these guys
Nice.
in their office. So you walk in 9 o'clock on Monday. When you walk into a brand new engagement like that, what's the nightmare scenario you're walking into, and what's the dream scenario you're walking into?
Great question. So, nightmare and dream scenarios for new clients. Love it.
Yeah.
So let's start with dream because I like that better. So, my dream scenario for a new client would be a client who is growth focused and I think has clear goals. So, typically, I'm working with an owner or a CEO
Mhm.
directly and someone who is transparent, whether it's with the good, with the bad, but someone who has goals and can articulate them. And a lot of times I will say that, maybe those aren't fully baked by the time I'm in there, but even if they aren't, someone who is willing to get there and get to those specific goals is super important, not just for marketing, but really for the entire business, right? And the other thing I would say about my dream, just especially from a marketer's perspective, is someone who values brand awareness strategies just like they do those direct growth strategies. So I'm not saying they always have to be 50-50, but someone who really understands the value of brand awareness and as well as combining them with growth strategies.
What's the nightmare?
Okay, the nightmare.
By the
Night
way, just I have a lot of stats from
do
a
you?
lot of guests. We've had like 300 plus guests on this podcast.
Yeah, I
Two
bet.
out of every three guests start with the nightmare. Only one out of every three start with the dream.
Interesting. I'm
Don't know why.
interested to hear about that. Yeah. Okay. We'll dig into that some other time.
Yeah.
So, nightmare scenario with the new client, I think, is someone who brings me in to fix marketing, right?
Hmm.
It's gone through iterations and iteration, and nothing seems to be working. And so sometimes that's a little bit of a red flag because there's deeper issues there. So someone who needs a fix as opposed to an evolution or growth strategy, or is really open to that next step. Um, and then the other thing that's really important is those goals. So, an organization that can't arrive at goals or isn't willing to nail down what their goals are, whether it's for just this year or for 3 or 5 years from now, those are so important to have.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Good. Tamara, hi.
Hey, how you doing? Dean,
Tell
did I
folks
hear
a little
that
bit
it's your
about
birthday
you.
today?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It is my birthday. In fact, I forgot my birthday, logged into LinkedIn this morning, saw that I had like a ton of messages, and I said, oh my God, what went wrong? And it turns out it was just a lot of people had the alert. And so they just said happy birthday to me. So,
Yeah, those were the little birds that told me
yeah,
today was your
that freaked me
birthday.
out.
Happy
I said, "Oh my
birthday.
God, what's
Birthday.
going on?" Because I've always got a campaign running on LinkedIn. They're like, "Did I suddenly like tick off a lot of people? What's going on?" And it turns out it's just happy birthday. So, phew, but at least they reminded me it's my own birthday. Tamara, and tell people a little bit about you, and then I want to talk about your nightmare versus dream scenario when you're walking into a new engagement.
Gotcha. Overall, I'm a accidental fractional CMO. Back in the day, it was called consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Between gigs, I mean, I'm an advertising and marketing maven, and between full-time opportunities, I take on projects, and it's been mostly spread by word of mouth. In this current economy, it seems that more people are hesitant to bring in full staff, so they
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of the fractional engagement or consultative engagement. So I have worked across industries. I consider myself industry agnostic, and across different sizes of businesses, from small to enterprise, startup to growth stage, et cetera. And I really love what I do. So curiosity is my cornerstone.
Yeah. Variety is fantastic. When it's one of the few things you can almost guarantee yourself when you're out on your own is variety.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Okay. So you're walking in, brand new customer, brand new engagement, day one. And so they've been through your sales process, but now the paperwork's signed and the ink is dry and you're walking in. What's the nightmare scenario you're walking into with a new client, and what's the dream scenario?
Okay, starting with the dream again, just to raise the tick on that.
Yeah.
I think, locking arms with the CEO and starting off with an overall clear mandate of what the CEO would like to have happen, and then bringing in the C-suite, gathering the troops, and being the orchestrator of getting the discovery process started.
Mm-hmm.
I want everyone to come to the party with an open mind. Maybe I'll bring some croissants, some coffee, and let's have a discussion, because the discovery process is the opportunity to really get to the nut of what possibilities there are for the organization. The other side of that coin is to walk in and have total chaos, a lot of conflicting and competing goals, individuals at that C-suite or executive level who are not on the same page, and they're not playing like team players, and having to deal with the underlying issues that many of these mid-sized organizations, I especially see this in when it's family owned or privately held. There are different nuances of relationship issues that are preventing the team from actually executing at the higher level to the edges of the organization. So walking into that, it's a little bit like therapy and babysitting first before the real discovery of the business issues can happen.
Okay. All right. Now, you had a pre-existing commitment. And so these guys only get you for half a day on day one this Monday because you need to drive downtown. You're going to a big hotel because there's a big conference there and you're one of the keynote speakers. So now you get on stage. You're talking to this audience of about 250 people. All of them came out of corporate and became fractional CMOs yesterday. Suckers. So they're looking forward to their exotic lifestyle. You know better. And so you're going to talk to this group. To them, you are like a very, very seasoned and experienced fractional CMO, not just because you've done it for ages, but also because you've done it for at least one day longer than they have, because they're brand new. So I'm going to walk you through 3 statements as parts of your speech. And all you have to do is finish the sentence, use as many words as you need to finish the sentence. So this audience gets it through their head what they're going to run into. Okay.
All right.
So Tamara, we'll start with you. You're on stage and you're saying, hey, it's great that you are brand new fractional CMO. I can tell you that as a fractional CMO starting out today, something you're going to be shocked by is
the fact that most people don't even understand marketing and what it is. When you walk into an organization, so many people are thinking of marketing as the brochure, the website, the initiative, the tactical execution of some sort of message, rather than stepping back and looking at marketing as a whole. It used to be that there were 4 P's of marketing. Promotion, which is the message, the brochure, whatever, is one of those 4 P's. I think that there are actually more P's. There's also the personality, which is the overall brand. There's also the whole product and pricing thing, and getting to know the prospect or the customer. So all of these aspects have to be considered before you can come in and actually execute an initiative. So many people say, come in, get me going viral on TikTok or whatever the program is. Well, okay, that is maybe a result you would like from your marketing efforts, but you have to step back like a doctor and look at the total organism, the market environment that you're in, what you want to achieve, the 1, 3, 5-year goal. Like Wayne Gretzky said in hockey, you need to skate to where the puck is going to be. So first you have to figure out where you're going to be so that you can plan that motion, right? And all of these aspects have to come together to support that viral moment or that message that ends up being delivered, whether it's in a website, a social media environment, an email, a text, a stage, all of those things. So marketing has to step back and actually establish itself as kind of the heartbeat of the organization, knowing all of the different aspects that are important to the execution of an overall strategic plan.
Okay, Tamara, staying with the same audience, talking to the same group of 250 people who are just became fractional CMOs yesterday. Finish this sentence for me as part of your speech. And what you're going to find is many clients just don't understand.
Again, marketing. And the role of what the marketing organization
There
does,
you
what
go.
the marketing discipline does. The role of marketing is to actually unite everyone. Okay, you're a rowing team, right? And finance has got the oar in the water, and product development has the oar in the water, and the CEO is at the helm of the ship saying, everybody get your oars in the water. But everybody's going at a different tempo, a different pace, and maybe even trying to go in a different direction. Overall, what marketing needs to do is unite that effort so that the CEO can make the call and get everybody rowing at the same tempo, in the same direction, at the same time, with the same idea of where we're going to end up. So stepping back, marketing is that engine. Marketing is that playbook. Marketing is that coach and manager of that team who hooks arms with the CEO to make sure that the CEO is successful in leading the team forward.
Okay, and now some intern is trying to signal you to get off the stage, Tim, and they're bringing up the music. But so a little bit of time pressure. But by God, you're going to tell this audience one more thing. This audience of brand new fractional CMOs, and you're going to say, "Let's look. They're trying to get me off stage, but I'm not leaving until I tell you one more thing. The most important thing you need to remember as a fractional CMO about getting new clients is."
Getting new clients is to put yourself out there and fall on the sword about what marketing really is and what your role really is. If you want me to come in and just execute a content strategy, we're going to make that the scope of work. But if you want a true, impactful, dynamic process that can bring you forward in an overall time and space continuum, then we're going to start with year 1, look at what year 3 could be, and then year 5, because one initiative standalone does not make or break a business growth pattern.
All right, good answer. All right, so Abby, we're going to go through the same scenario, but we're going to walk through it backwards.
Okay.
So you're on stage. You're apparently Amazon's some existential threat to my life now. So you're on stage, and you've got these 250 brand new fractional CMOs just started yesterday, just popped out of corporate, right? And one thing you want to make sure they know is how they're going to get their clients. So what's your advice for helping them get clients?
Sure. So how are you going to get your clients? You're going to put yourself in rooms with decision makers. And there's lots of ways to do that. You could join networking groups. You can be part of CEO or peer group organizations. You can go to events and network. You can also network on LinkedIn or other platforms where you can sort of demonstrate your expertise, put out content that's valuable to your target audience, and kind of establish that thought leadership. There's lots of ways to do it. And I like to suggest trying them all because you never kind of know which one's going to get some traction first. But that would be what I would do, and position yourself as a strategic partner, right? So they can use you for advisory services, and not just I am a service to do a tactic.
All right, then finish this sentence for me as part of your speech, right? So you guys are brand new, working with a client as a fractional CMO is different than being a CMO.
Who let the dogs out?
Let the dog in. And so you're talking to this audience, and it's this what you watch. This clip will go viral just because there's a dog barking in it. It's just the way it works. It's good for you. And so finish this sentence for me as you're talking to this audience. Like what you guys are going to find, most companies, most clients just don't understand or grasp what?
Yeah, most companies and clients don't grasp that strategy and tactics are different, right? So a strategy is that overarching plan. It's built out of often a really detailed, insightful discovery session or multiple. It is built out of lots of discussion. But once you have this discovery process complete, building a strategy becomes it makes sense, right? So the result you get out of the strategy will make sense to all the participants because they will have participated in developing that. They'll understand why we're picking these strategies to achieve these goals, right? But that is different than executing on,
Right.
X platform, or let's do some email marketing, or whatnot. So they're totally different, but to get to the tactics, we have to do this big, heavy work of the strategy.
And then what do you think like most fractional CMOs when they kick off, let's say anytime in year one, what are they most sort of surprised or shocked by?
Yeah. I think what I personally was shocked by was how often I get to play therapist. And I actually now it's really one of my favorite roles as a fractional CMO. And I actually feel very lucky when I'm put in that position because I feel that my clients trust me. They are open enough to share challenges and to sit with me and talk through them, and hopefully we come to some solutions. But it's a role that I didn't necessarily anticipate, and a lot of times we're talking through issues that aren't really all that marketing related. I mean, they always are down the road, but it's really nice to be kind of an advisor as well as the fractional CMO.
Okay, so speeches are over. Interns managed to get you off. They had the music up like you're at the Oscars. Finally, you were chatty, but you got off stage. And now you're out onto the conference room floor and the booths and the people milling around. You've even got a couple of, encounters or meetings set up to talk to some prospective new clients, okay? Mm-hmm. Abby, we'll start with you for one question, and then I'm going to ask the same question to Tamara, which is this. When you're talking to prospective clients about being a fractional CMO for them, what around marketing or the fractional CMO role, what do they tend to overrate or think is more important than it really is? And what do they tend to underrate that you think they should just pay more attention to?
Sure. Okay, so let's start with what's underrated. I think what's underrated typically is a well-oiled CRM process. And what I mean by that is you don't just have the tool, but it is part of your culture. So, and that's not just in the marketing function. Typically, so many parts of the business have to touch the CRM for the data to be accurate and effective for marketing to then use down the road. And the challenging thing is that marketing and sales tends to use the output of a lot of that data, but we need a lot of other folks like customer support or administrators or project managers to touch and input that data, and they don't necessarily always see what we do with it and how important it is. So I think it's a challenge internally to get everyone, all the ducks in a row, and everyone really all the time populating this data and understanding why it's so important.
So what do they overrate?
What do they overrate? That's a great question. I think it's kind of sometimes the social media. I am a huge believer in organic social media content. I love it. I think there's always a focus on what content can we have go viral, or can you just make that go viral, right? Which is just not ever how it works. But really what we want to do is put out there that consistent, valuable content, and we can't always make it go viral, right? So that's what I find is sometimes overrated.
Right. And Tamara, how about you? What are prospects when you're talking to them? What do they tend to overrate? What do they tend to underrate?
I think overrated are the expectations of separate initiatives and having like everything fragmented. An initiative that is put out across all of the different touch points for an organization can be more effective if the organization stops and does the foundational work first, fully understanding the customer, fully understanding the market that they want to go after and which ones are going to be more available to them, and getting all of that laid first. I also think that people always want new. So I say to a company, when your brand messaging is boring to you, the marketplace is finally hearing it and understanding. Don't change it. So it's like, oh, we need new colors on the website. We need this to pop. We need the logo changed. No, no. It's like Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola. You just don't want to mess with it. They tried. Didn't work well for them.
Mm-mm.
But so don't always be chasing the new. That's overrated. Underrated is doing the groundwork first and really laying the foundation. I mean, getting the footing in understanding the business model, the marketplace, who's there, all of those aspects. If everyone is on the same page and knowing who you're singing to, the song can be so much richer because you actually start getting connected with the potential audience, connected with the current audience, connected with the promise that the business is supposed to deliver. And then the marketing initiatives can be orchestrated across the organization in a way to deliver on that promise consistently at every touch point. So marketing actually directs what's going to happen when a customer or client is interacting with the organization at any level, calling up customer service, calling up a salesperson to get a quote or whatever. In each of those interactions, the promise of the brand or the company needs to be delivered.
Okay. Then as you're talking, Tamara, as you're talking to prospects, what's a red flag and what's a green flag that they would throw up?
A red flag is I really want to get on TikTok or I want to get on whatever. Or that they're looking at, I just grew all these audience people on social media because I purchased a package.
Yeah.
What they're not recognizing is that they need a rich, engaged clientele. I'd rather have 100 engaged people following me than a million who don't really give a crap, And a green is, I really want to make an impact. I want my business to really change, the world. And this is how it does it. How can I bring it to the people who need it most? That kind of curiosity, that kind of willingness to serve in the marketplace is what a truly successful brand or product or service does.
And Abby, how about you? When you're talking to prospective clients, what's a red flag and what's a green flag?
Sure. A red flag to me is lack of goals or lack of willingness to get to specific goals. And also sort of a group or an individual who is sort of chasing squirrels, kind of, the next big thing or the next idea. And that's what I want to chase. And that's what we're focusing on now. And it's hard to pivot that quickly all the time. And the lack of focus makes everything hard to achieve, right? So that'd be my red flag. Green flag, someone with a focused vision, a company with a focused vision, and then someone who really sees marketing as an internal partner, a really valued part of the team, and part of the organization that really helps to direct interactions, messaging, strategies for the entire organization.
All right. Now, the next question, I don't have to ask it. This is the beauty of it. You guys get to do all the work. Part of the setup of the podcast is that guests are not matched or curated, which is to say everyone picks their own date and time when they're going to record. The other person who's in there with you, completely random. And so you guys are finally done with your first half day with your client, and then your keynote speech, and then you're talking to prospects on the conference floor and so on. And so now you're getting in to go to your cars in the parking garage, right? And the only thing you know about each other is that you're each fractional CMOs. So you end up in the same elevator going down to the parking garage. And so you just you can ask the other fractional CMO any question you want about being a fractional CMO or how business is right now or whatever, anything you want, economy, I don't care. But just like Tamara, you ask Abby a question, and then Abby gets to ask you a question and answer, of course.
Interesting. Yeah, Abby reached out on LinkedIn, and I wish we would have had a chance to chat. But I guess based on our conversation today, or based on meeting you today, what's one marketing hill that you're willing to die on, like with any client or customer across the board?
Strategy first, right? So I think it is so important to have that overarching vision and understanding of where we're going and why we're going there. And it takes a lot of work to get that strategy completed. That doesn't mean it takes an entire year, but it takes some focused work, and not just from marketing. So I would die on the hill of we need everyone involved for a bit of time, from a lot of different functions, so that we can get this right. And then from there, it's typically smoother sailing, right? Everyone knows what we're doing and why. We don't have to ask each other questions or get approval for everything because it's done, right?
I am so aligned with you on that.
I love that.
Same hill. We'll die on it together.
And then Abby, what's your question for Tamara?
My question is around discovery, and I love how we use that same term. My question would be, what is one of your favorite discovery questions for a new client, and why does it reveal so much?
I think the open-ended, tell me what you'd like to see for your business in 5 years.
Yeah.
And then when I get them to think outside of the current situation and into what the possibility could be, I start to see how open they are to actually dreaming and looking at opportunity. Or do I need to lead them, in that further? And my favorite thing to do is ask a question and then listen, or find another tail, to grab onto, to ask the next question, to keep on opening up that conversation. But I really need to see where they would like their dream to go.
Absolutely. That makes a ton of sense.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. This was great. Loved it. Abby, who should be reaching out to you these days, and what's the best way to get to you?
Sure, thank you. So I work best with small businesses, and they typically need, I like to call it more of a fractional marketing director. So typically these businesses are looking for someone to not only come in and help with strategy and really understanding that vision, but they need some help executing as well, and someone to help manage vendors, someone to help do a little bit of everything. So that's typically who I've been helping. And my LinkedIn profile is Abby Thompson 2. If you'd like to reach out, I'd love to hear from you.
All right. And then Tamara, how about you? Who should be reaching out to you these days, and what's the best way for them to connect with you?
The C-suite folks or the executive leadership team should reach out to me when they need a playbook. I'm the utility player manager / coach who can help bring them together and get the team playing all out for stronger success. And I am easily found on LinkedIn at Tamara Parisio. And of course, Tamara Parisio at iCloud. Just put in the subject, fractional CMO or team player.
All right. Thank you both for being here. This is fantastic. Thanks everyone for watching, and see everyone next time. Bye.
Enjoy. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you.